brothers and sisters that have to do this horrible work of hyper-confining and killing animals and make them so miserable. And we've been to slaughterhouses, and we've been to stockyards and all these places, and the energy, the violence, the horror and terror that these animals are in, and what the people, how numb the people get to just harm them so much. It's like an incredible devastation to the cultural fabric of our society. So this first chapter is about how our meals, every religion has seen this, our meals are very powerful. The subtext of every meal is that certain beings don't matter, and it's this mentality of superiority and domination and violence. We don't say it directly, but that's what, basically the subtext is, that we're essentially predators, right? That we're essentially predators because we're given the flesh of animals who've been attacked and stabbed by our mothers. You know, if you just go to any grocery store and just look at the little jars of baby food there, you'll see chicken and veal and turkey and hot dogs and cheese and all this stuff. So that's what we give to little kids after they, lose their mother's breast, and then they start getting food. And as little kids, we're like sponges. We just soak up the values of whatever culture we land in. And so if I'm getting the flesh of animals, of course I must be essentially a predator. I'm getting meat. And yet, if you really look at us, well, I have another chapter later, but we're not essentially predatory. I mean, the average person, when we see a squirrel, we don't start, salivating and think, oh, I want to rip that thing apart. I mean, I can't eat it. I mean, this is not what we are as human beings. And yet we're born into a culture where we're, in a sense, forced to believe that we are. And we create very predatory social structures, economic systems, and very competitive environment, and the effects of this are devastating to the ecosystem and to the landscape of our children's lives, to their own emotional health, to be in these kinds of violent and competitive situations, which goes back essentially to the food. So the first chapter is about the power of food. I'm just touched on it. Okay, the second chapter is interesting because it goes into the history of it a little bit, and I'll just say this very briefly. Because most people think, oh, this has been going on forever, right? Oh, yeah, we've always been doing this. and that's not true. This is really essentially a pretty new thing for maybe 8,000 or 10,000 years, but that's not that long considering how long humans have been on this planet. But 8,000 or 10,000 years ago, anthropologists pretty much are in agreement about this. People for the first time in what is today Iraq started to own animals as property for food. We call it herding. It was wild sheep, and then right after that, wild goats. And then about 2,000 years